Hello, welcome back. Tactical Tuesday with Johnny Tiger. November 1st, 2022. Feeling a little bit sore and stiff on my left arm today because I got my booster shot yesterday. Yeah, I know. There are some of you that say, why are you getting the booster shot? Don't you know it's all conspiracy? They're trying to reprogram your DNA. Yeah, the way I look at it is, yeah, I don't really think the virus is that big of a deal at this moment, at this point. But hey, you know, the government go to all that trouble making the a vaccine, making booster, and I already got three of these things already. So it would be a little bit silly for me to stop at this point when nothing happened after the three I got. So might as well go for number four. And when you really think about it, what can they gain from reprogramming the DNA of a broken down blind martial art instructor? I mean, heck, if they want to turn me into some kind of bioweapon killing machine, I'm all for it. Hell, if I start to grow big muscles and turn green, I'll make sure to make a video about it. So today I want to show you guys something that is a little bit more advanced, but it's the reason I'm showing this is it gives you a really good grasp, really good example of why it's so important to utilize your body mechanic in your techniques, to always understand the science behind a technique. When we are doing martial arts, we have, generally speaking, two type of people, two type of practitioner, the life art and the dead art. What is the life art? Life art are people who learn the technique, they want to understand everything they can about it. They will research or read, they'll test it with their friends, they'll understand how this is able to work. If you ask them, why do I grab you do it this way rather than this way? Why do I grab you with my thumb on the same side as my other finger rather than my thumb on the opposite side? These people, these practitioners should be able to tell you, or at least make a very educated guess. These are the people who practice life art. Their art is alive if they understand why things work. There are people who practice dead art. They take things on face value. Right? To them, their martial art is like their religion. They don't need to know why things work as long as things work. I'm not going to sit here and say which type is better because there's obviously uh, pros and cons for both. Myself, I always like to understand why things work, how they work, when will they not work. So when it comes to doing movement, people who practice the life arts will always try to find moves that make sense for their body. Moves that incorporate body mechanic rather than people who practice that art that, for example, they will bash the fist against a rock or a wall again and again until they don't feel that pain anymore. Okay, that is dedication and all that stuff, but it is not, in any sense of the word, the quickest way to get things done, or probably the most scientific. Let me give you guys a quick little example of that, right? So, people who practice bashing their fist against rock, against trees, against walls, against brick, and ice cube, ice blocks, steel pillars. Is it impressive? Yes, it's very impressive. Uh, I'm not going to say it's not, because it's damn impressive when they can do that. But scientifically, logically, is that even necessary? When you really think about it, who are you going to be fighting? Are you going to be fighting a robot? Are you going to like fight a building? Are you going to fight like an ice giant or undead zombie? Like, what is going through your head that you think you need to be able to smash through blocks of concrete to be able to defend yourself? There's no need for that whatsoever. Okay, so this is the difference between life art and dead art. People who practice dead art, they will not worry about questions like that. People who practice life art is like, okay, rather than hitting the wall for 10 years to condition my fist, maybe I should focus a little bit more on how can I be so precise that as soon as I fight someone, I can hit them right in the throat and the fight is over. Yeah, I might have tofu hand. My hand is only good for punching people, but that's all it's needed. That's all. That's good enough for me. Now, the technique we're going to be practicing today is very scientific, although it's definitely a little bit more advanced, so it takes a little bit longer to master this movement. So when you practice with each other, go slow in the beginning. Otherwise, you are going to start getting hit in the face and get overwhelmed, right? This movement is called the come hither block, or some people call it the retraction block. This is for dealing with situations where the attack comes from the side at your shoulder and head area, like a hook punch from the side. A lot of time when you see people fighting out on the street, when people get mad, a lot of time this is the most common kind of punch you see. This big roundhouse from the side, wanting to smash your face in, smash your head in from the side. If people do these wild punches from the side, open hand slap from the side, when they grab a weapon like a stick or a training sword or a chair. A lot of people just swing out to the side and then come in from the side. This is where the retraction block or the come hither block is useful. In boxing or MMA, a lot of time we are taught you keep your hand up here by your chin, your palm facing each other. I'm going to stick my finger out. I'm not giving you guys a finger. I'm just wanting to do this so you guys can see where I'm pointing my hand position, right? So most of the time when you're boxing or do MMA, your hand is like this. Your fingers pointing toward each other. So my right finger pointing toward the left, my left finger pointing toward the right. Okay, this is a general hand position. Is this useful? Yes, definitely good to keep your hand up here so people don't punch you in the face. But this is highly ineffective if the force coming in from the side is really big, like a really big guy, or with weapon. Okay, I once was working with a student, and when he was blocking my uh, hook punch, and put this away, when he was blocking my hook punch, he just put his hand up by his face like general MMA boxing thing. And I told him, I said, you can't block that way. And he got a little bit mouthy and he said, I seem to be doing just fine. Well, yeah, you are doing fine because I've been hitting you with maybe 5% intensity. So I said, okay, watch this, block the way you do. And so I throw a nice slow hook. He put his hand up. I put about 50% of my weight behind that hook. Boom! My hand hit his hand bounced right into his face. Right? This is why you can't block this way. Which is ironic because the come hither block, the retraction block, look a lot like this. The way this is performed is when an object is coming from the side toward your head, You start with your arm almost straight, and then you bring your hand in towards your face like you're doing a curl. However, where this is different from your standard MMA or boxing block is you are going to turn your hand. So when I start my block, my finger is pointing to the side, like normally, the normal MMA boxing hand position. But while I bring my hand in, I'm either going to turn my hand out so my finger point straight at my opponent, or I'm going to turn my hand in so my finger point past my shoulder. Okay, why am I doing this? This is where body mechanics come into play. If my hand is neutral position, facing the opposite side, my finger pointing across, like regular boxing MMA hand position, when a heavy object impact my arm is going to bounce right into my face. Because let's look at how the human body is made. Human body, when you block like this, and there's pressure on your forearm, it's forcing your upper arm to turn over. Okay, this is very natural. Okay, when arm's going to turn under pressure. So when your face is behind that arm, when the arm starts turning under pressure, boom, hits you in the face, right? So we need to learn how to lock that in place so the arm won't turn. And the best way is to turn your hand either outward or inward. When you turn your hand outward or inward, your muscles lock in. Right? Your bicep, your pec, your uh, deltoid, everything lock in place. Which means even if your hand want to cave in, it can't. Right? Let me show you guys that with this training sword. Right? If I block it the regular way, like MMA way, with my finger pointing across like this, boom! See how close this is to my head? It's like barely an inch away from my head when I block, and that wasn't even a hard hit, right? If I hit it hard, maybe I will block it the first time. But if the guy try again, that's going to hit my head the second time, right? Because it just doesn't have my hand, my arm does not have enough stopping power in that position. Now watch this. If I turn my hand out towards the camera, see my arm's in the same position. My arm is retracted, curled up, and my hand is here by my face, just like the other block. But the only difference is I'm turning my hand out towards the camera, and the attack come in, boom, boom, boom. See how far that is from my head? It's almost a foot away from my head. Does it hurt? Yeah, it hurt. Does my arm want to give in? Yes, it does. But it has nowhere to go because I lock it in by turning my palm outward. So now there's no way for this arm to bend, even if it want to. Okay? So in this case, I'm no longer relying on having strong arm. I'm no longer relying on having fast reflex. I'm no longer relying on uh, being more badass than the other guy. Now I'm relying on simple body mechanic. I turn my arm outward. There's no way this is going to get to my head from the side. And there's no way my arm is going to bend or cave in. If I turn my hand toward me, same thing. See how far this is away from me? Yeah, it's a little bit closer, maybe half a foot from my head. But as long as I keep my palm turned in this position, this is not going to cave my hand in. I'm not going to hit myself in the face. This is not getting past my arm. Again, does it hurt? Yes, hurts a lot when you get hit. Uh, does your arm want to cave in? Yes, but it can't. Okay? So rely on simple body mechanic for something like this is a lot more reliable than I block it the normal way, my finger pointing the natural way across like this, and then the attack out, I have to engage my muscles manually to try to toughen this out. Because as soon as they hit you once, you block this, they hit you twice. If you take enough of this, your arm will go numb, and then the next hit, boom, your hand hit your own face, right? If you keep your hand turned toward your opponent, boom, 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 even when my arm goes numb, as long as I keep my palm towards them, that is not coming in. That attack is not going to hit me whatsoever. So why do we call this the retraction block? Because I am not going to stand here and hold my hand in this position for them to keep hitting me. The reason this is called the retraction block is you start with your arm almost fully straight. When the attack come in, boom, you bring your arm in, turn your palm outward, and step. It's like you're retracting your arm while guiding the attack past you. Okay? Like I said, it works no matter if you turn your hand outward or in, but as long as you turn your hand when you do that bicep curl. Okay, so it's like a bicep curl. When the attack comes, you curl and turn, and then step in, and either hit them in the head or take the weapon away, whatever you need to do. In the end, uh, the technique itself is not as important as understanding when you exploit the various things that is given to you in the ways of body mechanic, then that make your martial art, your self-defense, so much easier in the end. Thank you for checking out today's Tactical Tuesday. We'll be back again tomorrow for Wisdom Wednesday. For now, have a good night.